Hi, Anna. Anna is a FinTech leader, CreativeLink, a great, first a great friend, probably we'll start with that, but a really thought leader with everything got to do with FinTech. I think before we start, we need a overview about who you are and like what have you done in the past, let's say several years, and then we'll start talking about the new banking era, like open banking, banking as a service, embedded finance.
So thank you, Tal, and hello and welcome. Good afternoon, everybody. It's my pleasure to be here with you today at the FinTech-Aviv Annual Summit. And I've been over 20 years in the financial services, especially in the banking and payment-related innovation. Having worked for corporate clients such as Citigroup, this is how it began, my digital journey. Also for T-Mobile, one of the recent roles was the FinTech leader at PwC when I was driving the entire FinTech agenda across Europe. And of course, worked very closely with FinTech startups and some new entrants, building collaboration models with incumbents, with banks and other financial institutions. Now I'm more advisor to both corporate clients, but also mentoring some of the FinTech startups. I'm also advisor to the Travel Capital, so that's a FinTech focused VC, and I'm just running my own company and my own consulting practice, Creative. That's the name of the company. So I'm just trying to encompassing the hands-on experience I gather and in the open banking and digital payments with the consulting background and the global strategic approach. So that's about me.
Yeah, that's in a nutshell. But so you have a tremendous experience in that realm and in embedded finance and open banking. But I want to focus in our conversation on the realm of non-financial institution or non-financial services embedding FinTech in their systems. And we have early examples like Shopify, which generate about 50% of their revenues from financial services, all the way to more, I'd say, just the more recent examples like Uber using and GAFA, of course. But let's even put GAFA aside and see where else, in which other domains can financial services be of value.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great perspective because when we are talking about FinTech, we can also open the perspective and look beyond FinTech into non-FinTech businesses that definitely benefit from encompassing banking and payment services. So, for example, payments are needed everywhere. And of course, lending and crediting, this is also growing on importance, like BNPL, so buy now, pay later models that are very much integrated into marketplaces or e-commerce business that it's also booming and accelerating right now. And you mentioned a great example of Shopify, which is definitely a marketplace, just over 1 million merchants doing their business online, so e-commerce. But definitely, as you mentioned, they benefited a lot with partnering with Stripe. So because they are using Stripe Connect module, and of course, they are just integrating the payment seamless way and merchant services. And this is like more than a half of the revenues from the merchant services, and then majorities from the payments. So definitely it shows how business that are non-FinTech and they are like technology enablers, SaaS models and platforms, they can integrate payments and other payment related services. They also have like a great portfolio of credit lending for merchants. So they even like created a kind of a merchant bank with some credit, debit cards and so on. So just an integrated portfolio of banking services around payments. But of course, you touch upon other players, and big tech is a phenomenal example because I always like to talk about big tech, but we know Amazon, what they are doing, of course, and how they are integrating banking and payment services. But we can also talk about other sectors, so how FinTech is absorbing other verticals like retail, like, for example, real estate or like utilities. Because what's the beauty behind the embedded finance? So if you have the mass customer base, you can definitely just come up with a new portfolio of services. As I said, everybody needs banking, especially payments for that.
Exactly. So the question is for the non-financial institution or the non-financial service companies, what is the secret sauce? When should I, as a non-financial institution or non-financial service provider, should even look at fintech? Is it what are the elements that I need to make sure that I have before even going to that path?
Yeah, so that's a perfect question. Thank you for this question, Tal. And of course, so if you have a mass customer base, and of course, if you have the critical mass of customers, but what really counts here is the customer experience. So probably this is rather the objective than the source of innovating into the field of embedded finance. But definitely, if you want to enhance customer experience, but having said that, everybody cares about revenue and monetization. So of course, customer experience, it's a beautiful tool to enhance this proposition. But of course, we should also think in terms of the monetization and how we can monetize data or how we can monetize OPIs. And of course, this is the tool to extract the data. So if you look at the data insights, and this is one of the major factors into this proposition. So first of all, banking data are in a way core, but definitely they are not enough. So for example, if you look at credit, you can enrich the data with alternative sources or alternative data sets. And this is what Credit Kudos is doing, for example, in the UK. I'm really sorry about the background noise. So unfortunately, the delay. So hopefully you can still hear me properly. But the Credit Kudos, this is the example of the UK Alternative Credit Bureau. So what they are doing is they are looking at the alternative data sources, and they partner with different companies, car financing, 24 hours, for example, in the UK. And this is also the way how you can monetize, because you can touch upon the under-penetrated customer base. So the customers who weren't granted the credit or car financing before because of their credit standing, now, thanks to the use of the new data sources or alternative data sources, they can be granted car financing. So this is how car financing really just monetized, because this is really just the proposition of more than 100,000 British pounds a year, but definitely they can expand the customer base, reaching out to the underbanked or underscored customers. This is one of the examples, of course.
This is a really good one, and I think another thing that is really good approach is you mentioned customer journey, but I see it more in the view of trust. So if you have a customer base that trusts you, that trusts your brand, then providing them with additional value proposition can amplify both their engagement with you, and why not? I'm working with them on so many levels. They know so much about me, so why not receiving a loan from them? So why not having my my bank account associated with it, so I can pay. You don't need to be a huge brand in order to grow into the financial services landscape. You just need to have the trust and, I'd say, engagement of your end clients. And there are smaller examples of that. Not only you don't need to. So Jaguar, for example, they had this cool initiative that in their cars they embedded a system that you can pay for the fuel as when you enter the fueling station, and you don't need to go out. You don't use your card. So this is great, and they have such a strong brand that it makes it almost seamless for people to enjoy this benefit. But even if you're a smaller brand, if you've reached a certain market awareness and understanding of your end clients, and they trust you, then try to provide them with added value services in the financial industry. And by the way, myself and Equitech in general, this is a large portion of what we had different project with non-fintech on what we can do, starting from explaining what is fintech and what realms can be embedded, and where do we fit insurance or financing or payments in their methodologies.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure if you can hear me, but absolutely, trust is a very important component here. So marketplaces are exactly the vehicles to build trust between different parties or different stakeholders, like buyers and sellers or distributors. And you mentioned like small companies, but trust, this is something not to be really overestimated here, because usually banking industry and banks are like source of trust. They are positioned and they are just perceived by consumers as trustworthy partners. So let me give you like probably one last example of the big company, large company, the largest one in the region in terms of banking. So PKO BP, the largest Polish bank. What they created last year is the marketplace, the core financing marketplace. So we have the example of the UK player, which is a fintech one. And now we have the example of a big banking, well-established institution, and they come up with a marketplace when they connect buyers, so car buyers, with car sellers, distributors, or leasing companies. And this is how they also create trust. So because they guarantee that the cars are validated. So this is very much important if you buy on the second-hand market, and then with the post leasing, for example, cars. And they also enhance this proposition with lending and different flexible crediting, so like car loan, or also leasing and long-term rental. So this is like a broad position on top of connecting different stakeholders. They also, in a seamless way, they integrated financing solution. Of course, this is the banking examples. We were talking about non-fintech examples, that this is how to connect, because car finance, car distributors, and automotive industry that you mentioned for the payments, this is exactly how we can absorb other verticals.
Okay, Anna. So I'm gonna wrap up just to stop the drilling, and you know, we had a short discussion, but embedded finance is just starting. I mean, this entire industry is growing rapidly, and with so many satellite solution outside of fintech that evolves into it, it's just amazing to see how it's growing from something that was unclear in terms of, like, fintech wasn't really a thing 10 years ago, and in 10 years there won't be a company that won't utilize financial technologies. So Anna, thank you very much for the time. I really appreciate it, and hope to see you very soon in our next event. And maybe in the next annual summit, host you here physically.
Yeah, thank you, Tal. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for making your time, and thank you for attention. And hopefully I will see you all in person soon.
Bye, Anna.
Bye-bye.